Mesdames et messieurs, bonsoir. Soyez toutes et tous les bienvenus au Centre international de conférences de Genève. Excellencies, dear public, welcome to this special event, to the 5th meeting of the Conference of the Parties to the Minamata Convention on Mercury, which will be formally kick off tomorrow. Tonight's screening is organized by the Secretariat of the Minamata Convention on Mercury and the Geneva Environment Network. I am myself the coordinator of this network. We are delighted to welcome you to this conference center, where delegates successfully completed the negotiation of a new global treaty on mercury, the Minamata Convention on Mercury, 10 years ago, in January 2013. The convention was then adopted a few months later at a diplomatic conference hosted by Japan. Today, we have in this room delegates who will be negotiating in the coming days and discuss further actions that will help make Mercury history. Diplomats and stakeholders from multilateral Geneva, as well as citizens who are not as familiar with the busy discussions and negotiations happening within these walls, or those of the numerous international organizations that are based here in Geneva. We are really delighted to welcome you all here today to discover a film which will remind us why we adopted the convention to address Mercury. As you are tonight in a United Nations venue, in a meeting convened by United Nations-led bodies, let me remind all that the organizations of the United Nations system are committed to enabling events in which everyone can participate in an inclusive, respectful, and safe environment. And while we are here to celebrate, others might be struggling for their lives in other parts of this planet, as the victims of Minamata did with Mercury last century. Conscious of the challenges some of your countries might be facing, we stand with you and our United Nations colleagues around the world, working to contribute to a world in peace, standing for human rights and respecting obligations arising from treaties and other sources of international law. Before you are formally welcome, let me mention that this projection is made possible thanks to the film director, Andrew Levitas, who has joined us in Geneva for the celebration of the 10th anniversary of the convention. We will soon give him the floor to present the film Minamata. The film premiered in 2020, a few days before the COVID pandemic started having an important impact on our lives and activities. And we discovered as we were preparing this event that the film hadn't been released in French-speaking countries. This is one of the reasons why we are here tonight to screen the film, not in a classic cinema. Let me take this opportunity to also warmly thank the technical teams of the conference center, which worked hard to allow tonight's screening. And to formally welcome you tonight, before we launch the screening, you will have the pleasure to be addressed by the Minamata Convention Executive Secretary, Ms. Monika Stankiewicz, then the film director, Mr. Andrew Levitas. We will then finish the welcomes by welcoming remarks by two members of the Minamata Convention Mercury Promotion Network, known as MICONET, which are Mr. Edeki Sato and Ms. Suemi Sato. And they will be accompanied by a translator, which I will also soon introduce. So without further ado, to introduce you, to formally welcome you, it is our pleasure to give now the floor to Ms. Monika Stankiewicz, the Minamata Convention Executive Secretary. Ms. Stankiewicz, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for being here to watch Minamata movie. Thank you, Diana, for your opening remarks. I think they were really excellent and provided the context for why we are meeting here today to watch the movie. And before I continue with my opening remarks, I would like to also thank my team members who were very instrumental in organizing this event, and this is Anna Garcia and Pablo Gamon. You can wave your hands so everyone can see who are also helping us with other events during this week. Of course, I'm very pleased we can be here and watch Minamata movie, and I would like to really thank the director, Andrew Levitas, first of all, for making the movie, because we need movies like this to raise public awareness of environmental challenges as they pose existential threats to humankind. But I also would like to thank you for making possible we can watch it together, as we are just about to start the 5th meeting of the Conference of the Parties tomorrow. The movie is excellent and it's so impactful. It moves your heart so much and reminds of the universal values of humanity and enshrined in the Charter of the United Nations, and such as human dignity and equal rights. It makes you think what the privilege is and what it means not to have it, and understand the consequences of tragedy. And most of all, it reminds of the value of human life and human health. There is nothing more important than that. I visited Minamata in Japan a few weeks ago, which nowadays is a beautiful city with high environmental standards. I met with Minamata disease victims, victims that were poisoned by mercury, including Mrs. and Mr. Sato, present here. And I would like to express my compassion and solidarity with Minamata disease victims and all people who suffer from environmental pollution. And I'm also so grateful that the people of Minamata are bringing their stories to the international fora so we can all learn from it. I have to say that I'm also very grateful to the government of Japan for allowing this convention to take the name after Minamata, because I know it means a lot to many people in Japan, and to me is a testament of the deep commitment by Japan to make Mercury history. I wish we would be in position to say that mercury is no longer a problem, but it is. There are people who continue being exposed to mercury and whose health is being affected and their way of life is being threatened or destroyed. And often, like Minamata, these people are not privileged and often they do not enjoy full rights. But then I'm also hopeful because we have Minamata Convention in place, and by implementing this convention, we can make a difference. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Stankiewicz. To introduce you to the film Minamata, why, how, and what's next, it is our pleasure now to invite Mr. Andrew Levitas, the film director and producer, to the podium. Mr. Levitas.
Good evening. Deepest thank you to UNEP, the Minamata Convention Secretariat, the Geneva Environment Network, distinguished delegates, COP participants, and friends. Making the film Minamata was a deep passion project for all involved. It was made against the odds, and it is a particularly humbling honor to be here with you today in Geneva, screening the film and being part of the COP. I'd also like to again take the opportunity to thank the people of Minamata who allowed me to tell their story and asked only that we do our best to get this story out. Not for them, but so that no one again was ever left voiceless or deemed the parts per million. And that's really what this film and the Minamata Convention are about. Because all of us, everyone here, we're all the parts per million. And at some point, we or our children or our friends or someone we love will be considered expendable for the greater good, which all too often is a colloquialism for corporate interests. At the center of this film, and my personal mission, is to make sure that we as collective inhabitants of this planet never forget that together we are the millions, we are the billions, and we're all equal and all deserve to live an unpolluted life. We're living through extraordinarily scary times, and with truth and fact so often being lost in the fog, it's my deepest hope that films like this, which bring voice to those who have none and honor those who stand up for what is right, continue to cut through that noise. I hope it reminds us of the importance of truth and those that seek it and the price that they too often have to pay. In these divisive times, this film, the people that it portrays, the Minamata Convention, and all of you here today are examples of what we can achieve when we all pull together in the same direction and demand to be heard. You may expect that this film was made with enormous financial resources. It wasn't. But what we did have was a passionate and committed team who believed in our collective mission. And the way this film came together is a model of how we can all come together to protect humanity and those who cannot protect themselves. Ultimately, though, much like the great W. Eugene Smith's work, this film is about the human spirit. It's about innate kindness and love and compassion, and a lesson for all of us to find beauty and hope in the darkest of moments. The role of art in environmental awareness is an important one, which I've dedicated my life to because it speaks to individuals in a non-confrontational way and encourages them to see themselves through the issues. It attracts folks from all walks of life to become aware and engage with topics that they usually would not, and hopefully become inspired to do more, or at the very least, begin a cycle of exploration and connectivity in their own communities. It's our collective responsibility to not only move policy, but to nourish minds, provide context, and inspire. In 1975, an extraordinary man and an equally extraordinary woman published the book called Minamata, A Warning to the World. And it documented a small community which was devastated by mercury pollution, but somehow kept their humanity, kept their faith, kept their dignity, and they kept their love. The work of Eugene and Eileen Smith changed the world, and it brought light to a place and a heroic people who were living in shadows. But unfortunately, as time has passed, the light around these images and the message has dimmed. But we're all here to continue that fight, and that matters. And the world is better for it. I thank you for your time, your passion, and your commitment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Levitas. For those who will be around tomorrow, Andrew will be present for a COP-5 special event, Minamata Convention, a decade of global commitment to make Mercury history, which will take place in the same room at 1:15. You will see him around also at the venue, so don't hesitate to approach him. As we have heard, we are here because sadly, Mercury had devastating effects on coastal communities in Japan. We are joined tonight by Mr. Hideki Sato and Ms. Suemi Sato, two members of the Minamata Convention on Mercury Promotion Network, known as MICONET. I would like to invite them to join us on this podium. I would also invite Mr. Tani Yoshi, who will serve as interpreter, to join. Please join us here for a few words before we launch the screening.
Sato Hideki と言います。
I'm Sato Hideki.
私の父、母も水俣病認定患者でございます。
My father and mother is also recognized with Minamata disease.
こちらが父で、こちら母で、
This is my father and mother.
友人スミスさんに、撮っていただいた写真でございます。
Just take photo is by the Eugene Smith. This 表見せて。This is a photo book by the Eugene Smith is 1972. Yeah.
水俣条約ができたのは、坂本忍さん、それからユージン・スミスさんが世界に発信した写真集となどができて、世界の人がこれを見られて、水銀条約ができて、本当に私は良かったと思っております。
I'm very happy to the Mercury, Minamata Convention on the Mercury already started, and because Eugene Smith appealed to such kind of photograph. Also, another Minamata disease patient to appeal to the 1972 Stockholm Conference. Yeah.
その水俣のことを、世界に知らせ、また映画として作っていただいたアンドリューさん、それからジョニー・デップさん、やはりこういうの人たちのおかげで、これから先も二度と こういう公害が起きらないようにしていただくということを大事じゃないかと思っております。
And then this time, Andrew and then Johnny Depp produced such kind of Minamata's film. I'm so very happy to, and then also never repeat such kind of tragedy in the world. Yeah.
でやはり一番大事なのは人の命だと思うので、弱い人たちのことを考え、しっかりと世界の人たちが向き合っていただきたいと思っております。
Most important is human rights, life, and, and all of them, please careful to the such kind of the environment pollution issue. Yeah.
こういうところで話をしてすることに本当に嬉しく思っています。今日は本当にありがとうございます。
I'm very happy to speak this that kind of time, and thank you so much, everybody. Yeah.
私は佐藤末美と言います。
I'm Suemi Sato.
水俣の窒素会社は会社の企業発展のため、会社の排出が原因と分かっても止めもせず、人の命を奪いました。
Chiso company in Minamata continue the pollution for the and then don't stop to the polluted water and then so many people are killed.
たくさんの方が亡くなりました。
So many people have died.
人の一生を狂わし、家庭も破壊されました。
So many people are suffering the Minamata disease, and then some family was it's so broken their life. Yeah.
人の命を犠牲にして栄えてきた会社です。
So I'm not so good interpreter. I try to best. Yeah. Human. This company was broken. So many people killed, and then developing to the company.
映画を見て、秀樹さんのお父さんを思い出しました。
I have seen to this film. I remember the Mr. Hideki's father.
お父さんはこの映画のストーリーにあるように、東京の小さ本社前に座り込みをいたしました。
His father was sitting strike in the main branch in the Tokyo is this company at the wrong time.
コンクリートの上に段ボールを敷いて寝ていたとお父さんから聞いています。
I am hearing to the him to the sitting strike on the very cold concrete on the dumbbell papers to the sleeping the wrong time.
被害者の人たちと一緒に窒素社長と交渉を重ね、やっとの思いで患者のための協定書を勝ち取りました。
She have a long time to the negotiation of the CHIS company president with many Minamata victims, and then we have get an agreement to the 1973.
本当にすごいことをなさった人だなと改めて思いました。
Is so much important work to the such kind of Minamata's struggle.
残念なことに、いまだに水俣病問題は解決しておりません。
Still now, Minamata is continuing with any kind of problem. Not yet solution.
患者保障を受けていない患者さんはたくさんいます。
They have not yet received any compensation.
主人もその一人です。
My husband is also one of them.
ありがとうございました。
Thank you so much. This time we have make the paper for the Sato San's family history or some appeal paper for the COP-5. And then maybe you can find the exercise, this paper. If you take one, please. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So it's now time to launch the screening of the film. I'm looking at the studio and it looks everything is fine. So enjoy the movie. Thank you.